And Jamie, can you talk us through some of the policies, procedures, and
Mm.
cultural elements that have been successful in developing your high-performing teams?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that a few seconds ago, Kristy. Yeah, there's some really key tools in the process of getting these high-performing teams work. And before I go into those, the other thing I'd love to touch on, and you know, my favorite book, everyone probably knows, but is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And you know, I got introduced that back in 1991. The highest level of maturity, Dr. Covey says, is teamwork. It's important to recognize that, you know, that's where the magic happens. And so it's sort of like the holy grail of what do you want to call it, but essentially teamwork, that magic is what we're going for. And you see that across, you know, all types of movies or true stories. You see where teamwork just plays an absolute role in achievement, you know, in human achievement, you know, and the Apollo missions to the moon are a classic one. You know, the amount of people that are involved in, you know, achieving a goal. It's just all about teamwork. But essentially, you know, bring it back down to a practical level, these aspects apply to your own clients' businesses, mind you. I remember when I started talking to some of these concepts with my own clients, they were like, they couldn't get enough of it, particularly the clients who were just had no time in their business. So one of the things is what I would call the no bypass policy, which is sort of reflected behind me as well. That's extremely important. I think multinational companies sometimes call that direct line reporting. So in a deep and narrow team. So that would probably be the foundation of a great team, the no bypass policy, Kristy. Another one would be the 80-20 rule. So there's different ways to explain it, but you know, you want to get leverage from your intellectual property from your people. So what actually happens in the no bypass policy or in a deep and narrow team is leverage. There's another guy from ancient time, Archimedes, said, you know, give me a lever and I'll lift the world. So I think there's actually a business game called leverage. Something like that might have been Brad Sugars who brought that out, the business coach. But it's all about leverage. So, you know, and another concept with that is the 80-20 rule. So, you know, I always say, well, you do 80. You know, I might say when I'm working with Selena or Danny or anyone, you know, anyone who knows me, I'll say, like, you do 80, I'll do 20. Or you do 90, I'll do 10. You know, you got to be thinking like that all the time and then be supportive as well. So, you know, have you got the tools to do what you need to do? When do we need it by? You know, roughly how long should you spend on that job as well? So that 80-20 rule is really at the heart about delegation. So, you know, if you're not used to delegating, learn the 5 steps to delegating. So high performing team definitely has leadership that knows the crucial 5 steps to delegation. You know, I think there was a great analogy Ed said to me years ago. He said, and anyone can try this, but I think I actually tried it and I had a bit of a laugh to myself. But Ed said delegation it's actually a skill and it's a management skill. It's not something that we have to do until we start delegating and we're in that leadership type role. I said, Ed, well, it's pretty hard to learn to delegate. And he said, yeah. He said, it's like, you know, which hand do you brush your teeth with? And I said, well, you know, right hand. And he said, well, you know, get up the next day and try and brush your teeth with your left hand. You know, and I think it tells a story like where I'll put the toothpaste in my eye, you know. So it's habit. So you've got to keep trying every day because will you fail? Yes, you will. You'll fail. It's difficult, particularly when you become a leader and a client manager, and then you've got to delegate work or as the owner of a firm, delegate your work. You've really got to become a Jedi Knight, as I say, in the art of delegating. You know, and there's a lot of other tools that Ed talks about as look and don't listen, don't have videos behind your eyes, because a lot of cultural aspects will come into the dynamics of team and a lot of emotions too. So you got to sort of avoid the negative type emotions, and you know, you'll have aspects when team members aren't getting along. I've seen it all. Literally seen it all. So you've got to know when to navigate that. There's a lot of things in the Wise Vault, Kristy, around situational leadership. So in
Yeah.
the Wise Vault, there's a great one to know, you know, when there's an issue in the team or between people, when do you get involved? You know, so you got to ask yourself, well, when should I get involved? And there's a great video and whatnot there about situational leadership. And, you know, another great one I think I learned from Rachel Robertson. I remember having a chat with Rachel years ago. She used to live down at Geelong, which is only about an hour from me. Then I spoke to Rachel, and we spoke about the no triangles policy. If you haven't got into the vault, now someone might be able to tell us which, I think it's at 16 or 17, but if you haven't got into the vault around this topic and done a deep dive in these leadership steps, definitely do it. So, the no triangles policy is another one, Kristy, around just getting teams working harmoniously together. So, and the other thing, probably final thing, and then I'll shut up, but is your meeting rhythm and your routine. I believe the meetings is where the magic happens. So when you get people together in the same room, focused on the same objective, that is synergy. That's where the magic happens. And so the meeting rhythm and the routine is the absolute epitome of teamwork. And so well-structured meetings with an objective, with agendas, with goals is fantastic. There's a guy who wrote a book by Vern Harnish, Scaling Up. He says, meeting rhythm and routines will give you more time, more freedom and something else. And actually, years ago, I actually got it laminated and I stuck it all up around the wall when I was probably overly enthusiastic at some point in time. But yeah, that's what Vern said. And it's very, very true. So if you haven't got a good, healthy diet and discipline of the core meetings in your firm, you want to definitely get onto them as well. And I think they're the epitome of teamwork. You'll have a lot of people say, oh, I don't want another meeting or whatever. That just means you're not doing the meeting right. So it's the devil's in the detail with the meetings, preparation. Dr. Covey actually spends about 3 pages in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People just on how to prepare for a meeting. So there's some
it makes a big difference in the team. And, it really impacts that team culture and having a high performing team by having them connected, creating that interdependence by having that solid meeting rhythm and routine of it not getting, as you say, videos behind the eyes, that they're not tuning out. Everyone is actively participating. And those who attend the meetings need to be there. It's not just, come along. It's not come to the opening of an envelope. It's purposeful intention behind it all.
That's right. There's probably a good, dozen sort of tools that you can mention. Another one is, Ed always says, and it's so true, is micro train, don't micromanage. No one likes to be micromanaged, feel like you're getting, people are hovering over you all the time. Just give them the tools, give them the skills, be supportive, give them the frameworks and timeframes to get the job done, and then get out of their way.
Yeah, absolutely.